Alright, up until this point we've just done a greeting program and then a greeting program with menus. Now let's do an actual math program. In this case, we're going to find the slope. And the question here is, given 2 points, how can you find the slope? And I want you to put the option to do it in decimal or fractional form in the calculator. So that's where we're going to use our menu. So we're going to create a program. We're going to create a new one. And we're going to title it slope. And I'm telling you, if I had $1 for every time kids spelled slope without the E, I'd have a lot of dollars. Anyway, so make sure there's an E on the end of slope. So, again, our first 3 lines, I'm going to clear home just to get rid of whatever was there. And then I'm going to put my name in here. This will get pretty automatic for you. By the math profit, and I'm going to put a pause, and my hint here, press enter. Whoops, quotations, not colon. Alright, now we know the formula for the slope, but the first thing we need to do is get the 2 points. So we're going to use program. We're going to create a series of inputs, and the first one is going to be x1. Whoops, forgot the quotation marks there. x1, and I'm going to put a question mark, and then I'm going to store that in, you guessed it, A. This is a number, so I can use a numeric variable, and I like to do them in the order that I would see the points. So I'm going to input and then y1, y1, question mark, close quotation, and I will cleverly store that in B. Now if you think you know what the next 2 lines are, pause the program and see if you can put them in. I'm going to go ahead and put them in now. Hopefully if you were feeling adventurous, you paused the program. So the first point is x1 and y1. The second point will be x2 and y2. You guessed it, C. Let's see. Nope, not second. Program. Input. Y2. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hey Tom, several videos ago you told me not to use Y as a variable. Why are you using Y as a variable now? Well, actually I'm not. I'm using Y in optional text, and I'm not. These are the variables over here, so then I'm not actually using Y as a variable. Now, so I have everything I need, and I'm going to go ahead and calculate the slope. And I know that slope is y2 minus y1, so that's d minus b divided by x2 minus x1, so c minus a. And if that's all I was going to do, I could probably just leave it at that. But I want to have this option to do it in decimal or fractional form. So I'm going to store that in M. Now you might say, Tom, why M? Well, M is the letter that we use for slope, and if you do a Google search for it, or Bing or whatever, you'll find that nobody really knows why we use M for slope, but we do. So here we have M. It's the rise divided by the run. Now we're going to put in this option to do it in a decimal or fractional form. So here we're going to use a menu. And again, the diehards are going to be like, no, don't use a menu. But menus are good for some low-level programming. So we have menu, and if you remember the menu, it's title, and then option 1, label 1, option 2, label 2. So I'm going to ask them what they want their answer type to be. So answer type. Actually, why don't I put in a question mark there? Answer type. Now, I'm going to put in a comma. And my first choice is going to be fraction. What do I have here? Fraction. Now, like me, make sure you don't hit clear. Fraction. Close quotation. I need to have a comma, and then my label. Now, I'm not going to use A. I already have A. I'm not going to use B, C, or D. E is available, so I'll label that E. And my second option is decimal, so I'll put decimal here. And I'm going to make that label F. Alright, so we've already calculated the slope. Now all we need to do is give them the answer. So I'm going to do my program. I believe label is number 9. Label, let's start with label E. Actually, doesn't matter the order you do it in, but label E. Let's output the slope. So we're going to go program, display, SLOPE. Now, I like to be fancy and put an equal sign here. The equal sign is not obvious as to its location. The equal sign is actually under the blue test command here. So I'm going to hit second, and then test, and then it's under test. And as long as it's in quotation marks, it's just fine. So slope equals, and then comma. And I know that I stored the slope in M, and this answer is fraction. So I'm going to go to math, and I'm going to choose the to the fraction. What that's going to do is it's going to display M as a fraction. Alright, and then once it does that, I'm done. So I'm going to just put a stop here. So you're done. But if it doesn't want label E, let's say it wants it as a decimal, let's see if you can write the next 2 lines, the label handle, and what the display would be if they wanted it as a decimal. Feel free to pause it and put that in now. Alright, so I'm going to do this. Program, my label is F, if I recall correctly. And I am going to display again slope. You remember the equal sign is under test. Slope equals and then comma. Remember, it's under M. And just to make sure, it's typically going to store it as a decimal anyway, but just for consistency's sake, let's put decimal in there. And now let's test it. So I'm going to go to Program. I'm going to execute slope, program number 5. There's me. It's going to ask for, let's go from 0, 0 to 3, 2. And now let's ask it for it as a oh, it gave it to me 2/3. I don't know if you saw that. Let's do that again. 0, 0, 3, 2. It asks me as that. So there's the slope is 2/3. Let's say I want it as a decimal. I could do 0. Oops. Enter. 0, 0, 3, 2, and I want it as a decimal. There, it gave it to me as a decimal. So you have just written a program that will help you find the slope. Our next program would be to how to find Pythagorean's theorem. Thank you and have a nice day.